The evidence seems to indicate that you're watching Dolly Vision.
Spin up, Dolly Vision streaming real. True crime scene blast feel so unreal. YouTube madness like share, subscribe. Jack's on fire, burning the world's fire. Where's the baby missing shadows crawl? People whisper footsteps down the hall. Fingerprints of the dead, cold as stone. He's got the scoop, best around town known. Dolly Vision headlines, King of Beat. Truth unravels, crackling through the heat. Lost soul shouting, echoes in the night. Rock the truth while live on air light. Jumping up, Dolly Vision streaming real. True crime scene blast feel so unreal. YouTube madness like share, subscribe. Jack's on fire, burning the world's fire. Where's the baby missing shadows crawl? People whisper footsteps down the hall. Fingerprints of the dead, cold as stone. He's got the scoop, best around town known. Dolly Vision headlines, King of Beat. Truth unravels, crackling through the heat. Lost soul shouting, echoes in the night. Rock the truth while live on air light.
YouTube! Who unalived the baby? It is your boy Dolly back in the studio again. Okay, as you see, you're probably thinking, Dolly, I thought you was on the way to the Leilani Simon trial. We seen you in South Carolina with the alligators and the crocodiles and the damn king cobras. But as you know, there is Hurricane Milton, which is a Category 5 storm. Georgia has declared a state of emergency. So Dolly turned his ass around and came back home, right? You ain't killing me that easy. I done died one time this year, and the last thing I'm going to do is die again, okay? I ain't dying again. So, you know the routine. Leave your DNA on that like button, just in case you go missing in this big-ass Hurricane Milton that's about to wipe Florida off the map, okay, with 200-mile-an-hour winds, Category 5. Just in case you go missing, I'm going to need your DNA so we can come track you down. Also, we're getting really close to hitting that 60,000 mark. If you haven't subbed up the channel, make sure you sub, ring the bell for notifications, and help this ugly-ass face right here hit 60K, baby. We can do it, and I can do it with your help. So, yeah, like I was saying, I was almost to Savannah, and then, we were doing watching the storm, and it got way worse. It moved from a Category 2, which I thought would be nothing, to a Category 5, and then Georgia, of course, issued a state of emergency because some of Georgia is still flooded from the last hurricane that hit there. Now, jury selection starts tomorrow in the Leilani Simon trial. Okay, allegedly it starts tomorrow. I don't know if this is going to be canceled or what, but Billy Joe has been lurking on the internet today. Y'all remember that lady, aka Billy Jawbone? Okay, Billy Howe. She has been lurking on some channels today. And of course, if you show up on the YouTube streets, people hit up Dolly and be like, Dolly, you ain't going to believe who's lurking today. So she posted some stuff today that she's really nervous. She said this in another chat room, that tomorrow is the day. Well, anyway, jury selection starts tomorrow. The trial actually starts the 14th, okay? So you never know. Dolly might fly back down, drop in on it. But for my safety and my family and PJ and everybody not wanting me to be on the road right now while there's a bad storm, I figured it was best just to make my way back home. Once this blows through tomorrow, we will regroup and plan, for the 14th to be there for the trial, because you can't really go in for jury selection anyway. It would have just been me standing around talking to you guys. So 14th, you never know. Dolly may be there. He may be there in the flesh. Okay. Now there's a lot of questions being asked. Is this going to be televised? Vinny P, the OG, was going over Leilani Simon today, right? It's good to see people have not forgotten baby Quinton. Okay. Court TV, good job today covering baby Quinton, baby Q, right? Some of you guys know him as baby Q, or you may know him as the little ghost that ran up to Dolly in the video, right? Which is baby Quinton's saddest thing, little 20-month-old boy thrown into a dumpster, which ended up in the Superior landfill in Savannah, Georgia. Searchers went on for months and months till they found partial remains of baby Quinton. Okay, now the big question is this, and even Court TV and Vinny P brought it up today, is how do you prove? Now, Dolly's been saying this for days, okay? For days, I've been saying, well, how do you prove that she beat this baby to death? And, they didn't show a murder weapon to the grand jury. Is there a murder weapon? How do you explain it? Especially seeing that the baby, trigger warning, guys, was compacted in a trash truck, ran over with excavators, buried, unburied with machinery and stuff like that. How do you determine if these bones show evidence of this baby being beat to death? We really don't know, because Leilani never said how the baby died, because in the beginning, she was too busy lying about what happened to the baby. Now, that morning, that dreadful morning this went down, the baby was supposed to be watched by the babysitter. But that morning, she got a text message from Danny saying that her services would not be needed, which seems strange, right? Pretty damn strange that the day the baby happens to go missing or unalived or ended up in the dumpster, and the police believe this happened in the early hours of that night. We had, of course, just a few people in the home. Billy Joe Howe was gone. Her husband, he was gone. That left Leilani in the house. That left Danny. I believe his last name is Yunkin. Okay. I may be wrong on his last name. He was in the house. And Paul, her brother, Leilani's brother that ain't in prison. Okay. Because, a lot of these brothers, well, just one of them ended up in prison for murder, robbery, and murder. Drug a dude into the woods, robbed him, shot him, killed him. I actually met his cousin when I was down in Georgia. She was out there really upset that, Billy Joe Howe had raised 2 murderers. Okay. So, like I said, it was good today to see that baby Q hasn't been forgotten by everybody. So thank you, Vinny P, for covering that damn, I always say damn, I don't mean the damn case. Okay. Thank you for covering the damn case. I was just fearing that, it wouldn't get any press, and maybe they'll go easy on Leilani. Usually when stuff is on TV and it's televised and everybody's talking about it, they usually make an example of your ass. And that's really what I want happen to Leilani. I don't want people to forget about this. That's why I've been trying to keep this stuff fresh in your guys' mind. Get as many people talking about it as you can, because we want this lady punished for what's happened to this child. Now, I do believe in the justice system that you have to prove without a shadow of a doubt what happened. And I've been a little sketched out about this, right? I've been a little sketched out about, what they're going to say and what Leilani is going to say to defend herself, because everything she says is brand new, because she basically said nothing. I mean, she gave some hints to me when I was down there of her defense that, of course, Danny was beating on the child. Now, I ain't saying that is true. A lot of people like, Dolly, she lied to you. It's Leilani, right? But this is something she did say. Now, this does open a window to her defense, because we've seen this happen so many times before. So many times before. You just look at what I just, the court days when I was in New Hampshire, And you had Adam Montgomery, Kayla Montgomery for the Harmony Montgomery case. You know, basically Adam pointed the finger at Kayla and Kayla pointed the finger at Adam. Adam got second-degree murder. Kayla got released. And it's exactly what they planned. Adam had planned that. Now, is this going to be something we see similar in the Leilani case? Because it looks like Danny is going to be used as a witness against Leilani. But, you know, really, he should be an accessory to murder is what I believe. Okay. Now, Court TV and Vinny P, they didn't really go into, you know, the accessory or Danny's part in this. But if you look at the situation, now some people could say, well, that text message was sent by Leilani and she used Danny's phone. Okay. Well, for PJ to use my phone, she would have to come in here and say, Dolly, give me your phone. Let me use it. And the first thing I would say is, what do you need my phone for? You got one. Okay. So did she tell Danny to send that message, or did Danny really send that message? We don't know. We have no way of knowing that. But what we do know is Danny was there that night. Now, I wanted to talk to Danny, right? I wanted to talk to Danny. I was going to show up in Dunn, North Carolina to speak with Danny. Now, rumor got out that I was showing up in North Carolina, okay? Because they knew I was in Georgia. But I kept saying, hey, I'm going to make a stop. And I was just in Dunn last night, too. Okay. I didn't see you, Danny. I was looking for you. I had to stop to get gas. And I stopped in Dunn, North Carolina. I was looking around. Trust me. I was looking for you. But when word got out that, you know, back then when this happened 2 years ago, that I was going to be in Dunn, North Carolina, his mama put out a statement basically to me, right? Saying that, you know, that they would call the law and put me in jail and leave her son alone. But Danny, of course, didn't say nothing. Okay. Goes quiet, ain't said everything since. But, you know, like I said, that Leilani told me that he had been beating on that baby. I don't know if that's true. But what I do know is there's no way she beat this baby to death and he didn't hear it. He didn't see it. And there's no way he couldn't have knew when she was disposing of that body what she was doing. And when the text messages to the babysitter, okay, then later on, the baby's missing, okay, nobody's called the police. It's like noontime, okay. They text the baby at 8 in the morning, a little before 8, saying her services wasn't needed. Okay, so that was 8 o'clock in the morning. So I believe these people have been up all night partying, okay. That's the only reason they would be up that early, especially if they were beating the baby to death at night. Okay, so she must have stayed up all night into the morning, into the afternoon. And the babysitter, which is a really pleasant woman, right? Really love baby Q, Quinton to death. She has a bunch of kids. Her kids are super awesome, right? And she goes down there and she's like, what's going on? Because they're outside. And they tell her that baby Quinton is missing. And she tells them, hey, you need to call the authorities. You know, the only one with a brain, you know what I'm saying? The only one with a brain, because one, she ain't on a bunch of damn drugs. Okay. She's not on a bunch of drugs. And she tells them to call the police. And of course, a 911 call was made at that time. Now, if she hadn't went down there, how much longer would they have waited to make that 911 call? Because, you know, rumor has it that Leilani, when she threw the baby away in the dumpster, she waited for the trash man to come that morning. Now, the trash was picked up earlier in this Azalea trailer park, right? And you guys, you know, I was the first one to bring y'all that she chunked the baby in the trash. The locals were on point. All the neighborhood kids, they knew everything, right? They knew it before the news knew it. And, you know, word in them Savannah streets travel really fast. Now, that's because Leilani had a friend that lived in that trailer park on the same road that them dumpsters were on. Now, if y'all watched my videos back then, there was a video where I run up to the truck when Lonnie first gets in. That's the first time I had seen Leilani, and she was with a young girl. That young girl is the girl that lives. That's Leilani's best friend, and she lives in that trailer park. And that's why I think Leilani felt comfortable going there to throw baby Quinton away. But what she didn't realize was that trailer park has 24-hour video surveillance, right? There's really one way in and there's one way out. You go up to this little gas station. From anybody from Savannah, you'll know this. There's a little gas station. To the left of that gas station is a little road, and it takes you in to the Azalea Trailer Park. Okay, and then you got to go down. You got to make a big loop, and it brings you back down a road where the dumpsters are. Okay. So, of course, the word is she waited till the trash was picked up. Now, there was no word of Danny being there at this time, but you know why? Because Danny was busy watching the other two kids. Okay, you got to remember, she had 3 kids at the age of 22 and was strung out on drugs. Not just her strung out on drugs, Danny also using and abusing drugs. Another person out there that was a little drugged up, and some people may debate this, Billy Joe Howe. Okay, bark at the moon. That's what it makes me think of every time I hear her last name. You know what I'm saying? It makes me think of Ozzy. So while she's out there howling away, and you know, Leilani is not supposed to have Quinton Simon. She's not, right? She had done lost Quinton, and Billy Joe took custody of Quinton, because if not, Quinton would have already been in foster care. She basically took all the kids because Leilani is a nutcase, okay? Emotionless, and was basically didn't care who seen her beat on these kids. So, and to me, to do something like that is learned behavior. We got to look back at the situation of how Leilani grew up. Now, I don't want this to be an attack on Billy Joe, because she's a big biker woman. I don't want her to beat me up live on TV, okay, when I do go down there. But this is going to be a little bit of attack on Billy Joe, okay? Billy Joe, she knew good and well, you know, taking custody of them kids, she only did it to give them back to Leilani. She didn't take custody of them kids because she wanted to take care of those kids. I have a hard time believing that, okay? I just do. I have a hard time swallowing that one. It's like, you know, she did this to help her daughter. Even during this, she was sort of defending her daughter, but in the beginning, she won't, right? She just wasn't defending it. But I believe this is learned behavior. You know, Billy Joe had a rough past. Everything from fraud to grand larceny to prostitution. I'm just not trying to air out all her dirty laundry, but she had a very drugs, just a very rough path, okay? And in the process of this, she's raising her kids. And one of her kids is a murderer. Now her daughter is a murderer. Alleged murder. Her daughter, her son's convicted, right? He's a convicted killer, so he's in prison. And so we at least know she raised one killer so far, right? Possibly 2. So the upbringing, hold on, my producer's walking in. I must have said something.
No, you're right. She actually said it herself on one of the streams she was on, that her mama had her kids and that her mom gave her the chance to straighten herself out. So she got her kids back. So she was trying to have her kids, Leilani's kids, so that she would give Leilani a chance to possibly straighten out.
Yeah, but even if she straightened out, look what the damage was already done to the kids, you know? Once this damage is done, it's just like the Menendez brothers. I was watching that today. Once the damage is done, it's done. Okay. Like emotional abuse is one of those things, and physical abuse, it leaves scars, you know, physically and mentally. And even though some years can go by, that pain and them scars are real easy to reopen or show themselves. Right. So I believe that, you know, Leilani, she came up rough. All right. Let's just be, you know, she probably was abused herself. And, you know, this happens to a lot of people, a lot of kids, but it's about breaking the cycle. There's a lot of people that get abused, okay? Like the Menendez brothers, okay? Y'all remember them, right? The Netflix, they got a special on Netflix. I watched it today. Once that abuse is done, it's done, right? It ain't no taking it back, and it ain't no changing it. And of course, the Menendez brothers, they murdered their parents. Some people say it was over greed, but, you know, they were being assaulted. And one of the things that prosecutors used against them is there's a lot of people that's been abused that don't go on to kill their parents or to hurt other people. You have to be the person that breaks that vicious cycle. Okay. And I see we had 369 likes. Thank you so much for everybody that's liked it. And we got almost 850 people in the room. So that means like 500 of you people watching out there didn't like my video yet. So do me a favor, do me a solid, and this is a good way. Hit the like on the video and don't cheat because I'm watching you. I can see. Just because I got these damn sunglasses on inside don't mean I can't see. I want you to hit the like, and then I want you to shout out in the chat room where you're watching my ugly, ugly face from. Okay, I just want to go on a few things on this Leilani Simon stuff, and then we're going to watch a little bit of the court TV stuff that happened today with them saying the same things I've been saying, you know, right? That, you know, so many people think it's going to be easy to convict this girl, but really it's not. It's a really tough case, right? There's cases where people have murder weapons and motive and other things, and they get off, right? So with no murder weapon, no way to determine the cause of death of the baby, is she going to do a Casey Anthony? Is she going to do a Adam Montgomery? We just don't know. Hold on, I got a call coming in. It's probably my daughter. Absolutely my daughter. Hold on one second, guys. I'm live.
Still?
Yeah, you can hear, they can hear you.
Oh, can you see me?
Yes.
I didn't know you were still live. I just wanted to show you. Do you see them in my window?
What is it? Oh, yeah.
The ones I stole from you last year?
Yeah, my Jason, Freddy, and Michael Myers.
That's my Halloween decorations.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Well,
bye.
I'll call you when I'm done. All right. That's my kid. All right. So look, I didn't murder my kid, right? I didn't murder my kid, even though she stole my Michael Myers, Jason, and Freddy statues, right? And she got them in the window of her apartment trying to be all cool. I didn't kill her, right? I didn't kill her. I broke the cycle. Okay. So, you know, a lot of people get abused, but they don't go on to kill people, hurt people. That's the more of the story. Like, you know, and a lot of things were going on in that house that led up to the disappearance and the murder of Quinton Simon. Billy Joe and Leilani were fighting. Billy Joe went and tried to evict Leilani from the house, and she was taken to court for child support, knowing this girl don't got a pot to piss in and a window to throw it out of, and she's strung out on drugs. Okay. She did all that. And then after it was over, right, she was going to kick her out. She was going to do all this stuff. But then once baby Quinton went missing, Billy Joe, how, right? She took Leilani under her wing. Justice for baby Quinton, right? And when y'all are the people that created the situation, and they're out there screaming justice for baby Quinton, something I'll never forget. There's no way to forget it, right? Watching people be, you know, Leilani coming off of drugs, Billy Joe smoking more crack than the dope man got in his pocket. She must have called Tone Capone from the damn Harmony Montgomery case. You know what I'm saying? It was like, Tone, I need to score, because this lady's jawbone was moving. I mean, she didn't get the name Billy Jawbone by herself. You know what I'm saying? It was like, oh, and she was chewing her face off, right? So if she wasn't on drugs, she definitely needs to get her jaw muscles checked out, because something definitely was going on in that situation. Now, you know, what it looks like is Billy Joe still trying to get custody of the kids. She's worried about Leilani, like any parent. Listen, you know, you raise your kids the best you can. If they do something terrible, you know, it's kind of like Stephen Stern's parents said, if he gets executed, they'll be there for it. They love their kid. You know, you're going to love your kid no matter what, but standing by your kid at certain points, sometimes you need to, as a parent, you got to stand down. I ain't saying don't love your kid, right? You're always going to love your kid. But when they do something so horrible that there's no really defending it, or if you do defend it, you make yourself look like a horrible person, especially when you probably should be in jail, right? I thought they would bring her up on charges, Billy Joe, but they didn't, because Billy Joe wasn't supposed to leave those kids with Leilani. And Billy Joe was worried about money, you know, and this job out of town, you know, she's a welder, right? So she had a manly ass job. That's why I don't want to get beat up by her, because she's stronger than me. Okay. And she was worried about getting this money instead of watching these kids. Now, when you decide to become a parent, when you take custody of kids, that's just like becoming a parent again. You know, you got to take responsibility for these kids, right? And she basically took no responsibility in this. And, you know, Dolly wasn't going to let that go, right? Because I told Billy Joe, I was like, look, that baby would be alive today if you hadn't took custody of it just to hand them back over to your daughter. That pissed this woman off. This is when she gets in my face. This is when she's telling me, hey, you got the wrong person, right? And she's all mad, spitting in my face. And I tell her, no, I don't got the wrong person. I got absolutely the right person. And, you know, I've been saying it for the last 3 days. The truth really, really hurts. Now, she's worried about what's going to happen with Leilani tomorrow. I don't know why she's worried. Leilani don't go to court tomorrow. Tomorrow is just jury selection. If it goes down, because, you know, they have ordered a state of emergency in Georgia. There is a big-ass hurricane hitting Florida. Tropical storms are going to reach Georgia. So maybe they will cancel jury selection tomorrow and this date will be moved back. But if not, and if they select a jury, which would be Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, court will start the 14th on Monday. Plenty of time for Dolly to get back there. Plenty of time for the storm to be gone. And we will still be there live. Court TV has tried to broadcast the Leilani Simon trial. They're still waiting for an answer from the courts, okay, if they can broadcast or not. But the last I had heard that there was going to be no broadcasting from the court. But then we seen that Law and Crime said they're going to be broadcasting. Now, I don't know if Law and Crime has put in to broadcast it before Court TV did and they've gotten permission, or if Law and Crime's talking about they're going to cover it and be there type situation, like out in front of the court live, covering it live. I'm not quite sure yet if cameras are going to be allowed in the courtroom. All right, now I want to share this with you guys. We're going to watch a little bit of this, review it, give you some commentary, and then, of course, we're going to open up the phone lines. I'm going to take your calls. And my question tonight is, how did little baby Q die? Okay, now this will give you time to sit around and think about it, what she did to this baby. So let's pull this video up. And this is from tonight. Vinny and a panel of experts. Now, the lady that's up here, she was right on the money, you know, because, you know, I've been following this from the very beginning. So the young lady that took part in tonight's program, she was right on point. I almost agreed with everything she said. So let's do it. Let's play this.
I'm Vinny Politan. The subject of my investigation is the tragic story of a little 20-month-old boy from Georgia named Quinton Simon. Now, once you see a picture of this little guy, you will wonder how anyone could bring harm to him, but someone did. Here's his story. 20-month-old Quinton Simon was living with his grandparents, his mother Leilani, and her boyfriend. On October 5th, 2022,
see all them balloons I put up there?
at 9:40 a.m., there was a call to 911 to report this little boy missing. The investigation began as a missing persons case. Was this an abducted child? Did little Quinton sneak away into the nearby woods? Soon, the investigation would change. It became a homicide investigation, with Quinton's mom as the prime suspect. Then the true crime community spotlight started to shine on Leilani and her family.
Oh, hell yeah, it did. You know, Dolly was out there instantly, right? But speaking of spotlights, we didn't have no spotlights. The only people that really had spotlights was Leilani and her family. So along the fence line and all the windows, they were putting bright ass spotlights in the window to blind the protesters, or, you know, the YouTubers that were out there filming it. And of course, you know, when it first started, it was just me and Betty out there. It was just the two of us. And then it slowly grew. It started with the one teddy bear we put out there. I went to the store and got a little teddy bear. And next thing you know, people after people after people just coming up, putting teddy bears. So the memorial grew huge, right? And we would change the balloons. As soon as the balloons went flat, we'd go out there and tie up new balloons because they had this. What they did was they blocked off their property line with a piece of string so people wouldn't stand in their yard. It was like a little metal poles in the ground, and then they ran a piece of rope down it. So I would tie the balloons to the rope, right? So they just kind of hung there and floated. And at first there was just the memorial was on the ground, right? Near the street. So people could just set teddy bears. But then a storm was coming. Okay. Now you got to remember at this point, there wasn't much contact with like me, anybody out there, and Billy Joe and Paul and all the people in the house. But when this storm was coming, they got that tarp you see in the pictures, and they put that out there. So then they came to us and actually asked. PJ just gifted a membership. Thank you, PJ. You know what? I think I have some memberships that I can give. Do I have them pulled up? No, I don't. Okay, I have to pull it up in a few minutes for you guys, and I'll give some memberships myself. But if you got a membership from PJ, make sure you thank her. So they came over to us, right? Billy Joe, our friend, and they were like, hey, you want to help us move all this stuff so it don't get destroyed? When they did that, I thought right then that everything was going to be calm. I thought everything was going to calm down because now they're not trying to be enemies with the protesters. They actually came up, was nice, and said, hey, y'all want to help, right? And of course, we all assisted, right? And so at one point, everybody, and this was that day, everybody was getting along for at least 15 minutes. Okay. For 15 minutes, it was harmony, right? Everybody was getting along, moving the teddy bears. They were putting up the little tarp and stuff like that. Everybody was being nice to each other, but it didn't last. Okay. It didn't last. It lasted for 15 minutes, and then it was back to regular scheduled programming. All right.
Protesters began to gather outside of their home, demanding answers and making accusations. The police investigation continued and led to an expansive search of a landfill. Eventually, remains of Quinton were found. Leilani was arrested, locked up, and charged with his murder. And now a jury and the public will hear the evidence that hopefully answers all those questions about what happened to little Quinton Simon.
All the stories we do are difficult.
Definitely.
When it's little children like that, it takes it to the next level. Did you see his little brown? I mean, you look at that child. Why would anyone do anything other than hug him?
See, I try to tell people this. If you think you're going to be a true crime creator up here on YouTube, and some of these cases ain't going to like really grab you and you're not going to be emotional, you done lost your mind. Okay. There's no way you could be in Georgia like I was out in front of this house, seeing everything happen day by day, live, being there, and not get emotional. Okay. There was days that it was really sad. There was days that it was chaos. It was just different. Each day seemed a little bit different. And you're going to get into these cases and you're going to get emotionally invested. There's just no way. When you see a beautiful little kid that, you know, had his whole life in front of him just snatched from him, there's no way really not to be emotionally connected, right? Like, believe it or not, I feel like still to this day, I'm connected to these people because of this. Okay. Because of this journey that everybody went through that was out there together, trying to give this baby a voice that didn't have one.
I don't understand that, but we've got to try to figure this all out. Got to figure this all out. And investigations often start, and really do start most of the times, with the 911 call. That's the first time that law enforcement is then intervening in whatever is happening. And that's what happened here. There's a 911 call made, and it's Leilani Simon and her boyfriend, Daniel, who have the phone and are making the call in the morning. It's about 9:40. Take a listen.
911, what is your emergency?
Yeah, I mean, we believe come from kidnapped. Yeah.
Did you say someone been kidnapped?
Yeah, we- Yeah,
Now we hear this, right? We hear this, and we know it's fake. We know that the front door was never open, and she changed the story. At one point, it was the front door. One point, it was the back door. But we all know this is a lie, and you hear her fake crying. And in a lot of the interviews, she did a lot of fake crying. But believe it or not, when you actually talk to Leilani, she was pretty emotionless, right? Just like a void of anything inside.
1-year-old son? Yes! When was the last time you seen him?
I saw him this morning when I left at 6.
Now we know that's a lie. So you know Danny's lying, right? Danny lied in the beginning, said he seen the baby. The police believe that baby was murdered that night, prior night. So there's no way Danny could have seen this baby. Leilani's lying, Danny's lying. And this is one of the reasons, big reasons, I believe that this dude assisted in everything that happened. Okay. He should technically be sitting in jail right now beside Leilani Simon. All right. He sat there with those kids while they disposed of the body. He called, he lied to law enforcement, but yet he wasn't charged with anything, because I believe his testimony is going to be the most damaging thing against Leilani Simon, because they don't have a murder weapon. They can't really prove how this baby's been killed. So if Danny don't come in court and tell it, they really don't have a case. And I've been saying this for days, but really Danny took part in this. He knew this. He watched the kids. He texted the babysitter. He lied to the authorities, but yet we give a free pass to a monster. Leilani Simon's a monster. Danny, you just a bigger piece of shit as she is. You should be in jail just like Jen Soto, Stephen Stearns. No different. Okay. I hate when they make a deal with the devil. They did it in Adam, Kayla Montgomery, making a deal with the devil, right? I hate it. I just hate it, because is there going to be real justice for this baby? And, you know, was Leilani beating on him? Was Danny beating on him? Were they both beating on him? But either way, if you sit there and watch a little 20-month-old baby get beat and you a man, and Leilani's a tiny girl, he could stop Leilani, right? He could stop her and with one arm, stop hitting that kid. You know what I'm saying? But he didn't. So to me, he's just the biggest piece of shit as her, and he should be sitting in jail too, right? Making deals with the devil.
Okay, have you guys gone outside to check the area?
Yeah.
How old is he?
And he can't open the door.
So you think someone broke in? Has there any signs of breaking in?
No. No breaking in, the door was open.
Was it unlocked?
Yeah, but the front door had bolts though, but yeah, it was.
See, listen to his story. Was the door unlocked? Yeah, but the door had bolts in it. Which one is it? It can't be unlocked and locked at the same time. You couldn't have seen him that morning if he was already in the dumpster. So, you know, was he the one that texted the babysitter? Because he's the one that called the authorities, and they wouldn't even have called at this point if the babysitter didn't go tell them to call. They don't even know the baby's eye color. Thank you, PJ, and welcome aboard the Dolly train. Now, if y'all ain't got aboard the Dolly train like PJ just did, y'all jump on the train. Got to keep Dolly alive. Okay. Got to keep me alive. Thank you, babe. And yeah, they did, you know, this is horrible. A lot of people believe, and this is what's so sad about it. You know, she had 3 kids, and she wasn't abusing the other kids, allegedly. She wasn't beating all the kids. Just Quinton, 20-month-year-old little boy, beautiful little boy, right? And you know, she, like I said many a times, so many people would have loved to have this little boy as a son, right? People that can't have kids, or like Dolly don't have a son. Like what I'd have took, if I knew something was going to happen to this little boy, I'd have took this little boy in myself, right? I'd have been like, all right, come on, you Dolly Jr. now, right? And I'd have raised him. a perfectly good life. He'd have had remote control cars, planes, every toy you can humanly think of, because, you know, I like toys. Okay. I like toys. Right. And I'm thinking, damn, Tiff, my daughter, hey, thank you, Rose. She said she don't plan on having kids. Right. So I don't even got no grandkids. Okay. So I can't even buy them toys. Right now I'm just buying myself toys and I ain't got nobody to play with. All right. So anyway, there were so many people that would have took this kid, gave this kid a good life, but they chose to beat this baby, treat him like crap. And instead of somebody else having him, they rather him been gone. And that is terrible. That is absolute terrible.
No, I can't find him nowhere. I was there everywhere, and he's so scared. He's out there everywhere. Okay, give me a description on him. Give me a description. He's got blue green eyes, and skin, dark hair. He's what now?
In every picture I've seen, he's had brown eyes. You know, he's a dark complected. He has, you know, not dark, but he has tan colored skin, dark hair.
He's got tan skin, dark brown hair. His eyes are like a brown green hazel. Okay. And he's black, white, Hispanic. He's Hawaiian. He's what now? Hawaiian. Hawaiian? Yes.
It's you listen to the call and you're wondering. I mean, because it has happened. We've covered that story where someone breaks into a home in the middle of the night and takes a young child. It can happen. It has happened.
Yeah, but we knew early on, Vinny, that didn't happen. Okay, the locals knew that didn't happen. The locals knew she was abusing this baby. Now, you know, you just hear the phone call. You don't know what's going on, really. You just, you know, the person, the operator, she's just going by what she's told. But the people in the neighborhood knew. They knew better than that, right? They knew that she had did something to that baby. Most of the kids that were in that neighborhood, I'm talking about kids that are riding their damn bicycles, they knew Leilani had did something to that baby.
But you look at a case like this and a story and an investigation, and a child goes missing from a house. I mean, there's an obvious first question for all of this, and it's our first question of our investigation tonight, which is, who was at the house that day? Who was there? It's an important question.
Leilani was there, Danny was there, and Paul was there, okay? Which is her younger brother.
Who are the people that are in the house where Quinton was staying? Let me bring in my guests who are going to help us through all this. Joining me, forensic death investigator, professor of forensics at Jacksonville State University, and host of the very popular Body Bags podcast.
I met this dude at CrimeCon. He's a really nice guy. And he's got a pretty good podcast. If you ain't never listened to it, make sure you check it out. Joseph Morgan Scott. Well, I said it wrong. Joseph Scott Morgan. My dyslexia.
Joseph Scott Morgan, and podcast host and Pop Crime TV reporter Lauren Conlon with us. Thank you both for being here. Great to see you. I wanted to put up a quick little timeline here because this is a story where a little bit of information has come out. Not a ton, but some information has come out. This is significant. 5:29 a.m., Quinton's babysitter receives a text message saying no services would be needed for Quinton that day. That's 5:29 a.m. 6 a.m., baby Quinton is reportedly last seen in his playpen at the home. 9:39, Leilani and her boyfriend Daniel call 911 to report Quinton missing. Then we get to 1 o'clock and the FBI immediately jumping in to help with this search down in Savannah, Georgia. So Lauren, as we look at who's at the house that night, so Leilani's obviously there. It seems her boyfriend Daniel is there. Who else is in this home?
Well, Vinny, I first want to clarify that this home belongs to Leilani's mother, Billy Joe Howell, and her husband, Thomas Howell. And Leilani and Daniel and the three kids have a room downstairs while the upstairs is occupied by Billy Joe and Thomas, and also Leilani's older brother, Paul Simon. And yes, that's his real name, Paul Simon. But Billy Joe.
I thought Paul was younger. He looks younger. Okay. And he's a mouthy ass little dude, right? He's probably 120 pounds soaking wet. Okay. No lie. And he you know, me and him had a few words. He came out and he sat on the porch and he ran his mouth at me a little bit. But he wasn't brave enough to come over to me and say it. Cause that's what I kept telling him. I was like, why don't you come over here and say that? You know, just come over here, man. Why you screaming from way over there? Right? Why are you screaming from way over there? Why don't you come over here and talk that cash money shit that you saying while you sitting on the porch with the door open? Right? So he was there. I knew he was there. And this is probably the next one of Billy Joe Howell's kids that'll go to prison for murder, because he looks like he couldn't fight his way out of a paper bag. So he's probably one of those people real quick to run, grab something. That's just how I took the kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, he ain't if he's older than Leilani, he may be a year, maybe 2 years tops. He actually looks younger than Leilani.
Joe and Thomas were not there at the time. As far as
there's two brothers, there's Paul and Michael, but Michael didn't live there. Okay. And the only one that showed any emotion through all of this, the only one that showed real emotion was Michael. Okay. I watched him kind of break down. I kind of broke him down over a few minutes. You know, I kept saying things to him, you know, why you defending her? Why did, and I could see it getting to Michael. Like, you could tell he was upset. You could see it. But the rest of them,
we know it was just Leilani, Thomas, and the three kids.
Joseph Scott Morgan, looking at that timeline, the first thing that jumps out to me, 5:29 canceling the babysitter. Mm-hmm. You don't need to come over. And this is someone from the neighborhood who has spoken about the case, but is, you know, likely going to be an important witness in all of this. And then at 6 o'clock, it seems that the boyfriend says, yeah, I saw Quinton at 6 a.m. when I was leaving for work.
Which he worked at a packing plant. See, he used to work with Billy Joe. He used to work at the same packing plant. So then apparently he comes back to the house. He goes to work, which he's late to work. Okay. And then he leaves. He gets a call from Leilani. Okay. And then he leaves. So she don't call the authorities at first. She calls Danny. So, or he went to work, made an excuse to get out of work, and he came back to the house, which is strange, right? It's strange. And to me, there's no way that this baby was beat to death in the middle of the night. Danny didn't hear it. He didn't see it, you know, and that's not even just Danny in the house. We still had Paul in the house. Okay. You know, he didn't hear this baby crying. He didn't hear this baby just stop crying and them leave, you know. Somebody had to watch the other two kids while Leilani was throwing this baby in the dumpster. Or did she just leave the kids? But I believe that person was Danny. Okay. So I believe he plays a bigger part in the death of Quinton Simon than, of course, he's going to let on to have.
I'm looking at those two things. I wonder, well, why don't you need the babysitter?
Yeah, one of the things that we look for in investigations then is, particularly when you're talking about, because, you know, initially this is a missing child case. All right. So you begin to think about that. And one of the things, one of the questions you're going to ask, is there anything that indicates that behaviors have deviated from the norm? So when you would question a parent about something like this, something so horrible, one of the first questions out of the gate is, do you ever cancel the babysitter? And if so, how?
PJ says we're at 975 likes. She said, if y'all get to 1,000, she'll go to bed and leave y'all alone. Okay. So hit the like button so PJ could go to bed. And the dude from the body bags, he's absolutely right. Things were out the norm. the babysitter was out the norm. You know what I'm saying? Like, why did they cancel the babysitter? That wasn't normal. Why wouldn't they need the babysitter? Because Leilani's not supposed to leave. Even listen, this baby was babysitted by the babysitter, even when Leilani was home. Okay. He would go down the street and listen, the babysitter is only not even half a block away. All right. I don't want to give out her location because she's a really nice woman. From what I understand, she's still in the area. So, but it's very close to where Quinton Simon went missing. Right. So I guess, there is some things to maybe Billy Joe was purposely leaving the baby there. She wanted the baby to be with the babysitter because maybe she really didn't trust Leilani, like she said in the beginning. Sometimes my daughter's good, sometimes she ain't. Sometimes I feel like I can't trust her. And that was the original words from Billy Joe how crazy she kind of changed up into protect my daughter mode. And now she's worried, right? She's worried. But why are you worried about the jury? You know what your daughter did. Okay. I'm sure all them days that y'all were in them house that Leilani didn't go to jail, Billy Joe and Leilani talked. What do you think? They sat in the house and didn't say nothing? First off, they were scared to go in the house. All right. So they stayed out back most of the time. My first interaction with Leilani Simon, she was in the backyard because they believed that the house was tapped, that they were bugging the house. So they would go out back to talk. So they spent most of their time in the backyard. They had a fifth wheeler out there. They had a big shed out there. They had another trailer that was out there. And then they had a hangover that was in the back. So they spent most of their time in the backyard.
How frequently have you done this? And is this the normal time of day that you would do this? Remember, this is done from texting. So if there's a history of this, you can go back and look at the text if this is their normal piece, if this is the way they do it. And right you are, Vin, when you talk about this point of contact, they're going to be essential in establishing the timeline and also prior behaviors.
Yeah, Lauren, this to me, the canceling of the babysitter at 5:29 to me is a little odd. It's a lot odd. Like if you don't need a baby.
What that tells me, Vinny, right here is that baby was dead before they made that text. So to me, it just says, okay, 5 o'clock in the morning, that baby was dead. All right. So what was they doing all night to even be awake at 5 o'clock in the morning? So was this one of these situations where the baby was keeping them awake and they wanted to shut him up? I don't know. But if they're texting at 5 in the morning, we don't need you, then that baby's no longer with us at that time that he texted. And a lot of people saying they think Leilani took his phone. I don't believe that. I think that text was from Danny. Okay. And he played a major part in the death of Quinton Simon. Now, I don't know if he did it, but I know he stood by idle. And if it was done, and it was done in front of him, and he did nothing about it. So let's let that guy go. Let's don't charge him with anything. No, he should be charged with accessory to murder. And they should have turned them on each other, and they should both be going to prison.
Babysitter, you should know the night before. Would you wake up at 5 o'clock and say, oh, we don't need a babysitter today? That defies logic, I think, to anyone.
Yes, I agree with you. It's incredibly odd. As a mother, I'm not waking up at 5:30 a.m. and texting my babysitter. And I think that this babysitter really cared about Quinton. There are reports that...
Absolutely. On the phone, he said he's seen the baby at 6 a.m. If they text the babysitter at 5:30 and says she wasn't needed, why would they do that? Right? Because that baby was gone. He is full of shit. He lies just as much as Leilani. No wonder they were a couple.
This babysitter was actually the one that got Leilani to call 911 in the first place.
No, his biological father's not dead. His biological father is Bubba. Now, Bubba had a run of bad luck while I was in Georgia. His mother died, okay? His baby died, Quinton. And then his father was on the side of the road changing a tire and was hit by a car, and he died. So Bubba lost his mom, dad, and his child within a month, okay? 3 deaths. You know, they say deaths come in threes. Well, it came in threes for Bubba. And man, I feel so bad for that guy, right? Like nobody deserves that. You know, it's horrible what happened to him. And he is the biological father of Quinton. And a lot of people rumored this, that she didn't like Bubba. She hated his damn face, right? I don't know what reason, how bad their relationship was, but she abused Quinton because of she didn't like Bubba. All right. I mean, because she didn't abuse the other kids. She didn't treat the other kids bad, but she treated Quinton terribly. And there's some of the nightmare stories I heard from some of the kids in the neighborhood. Man, like not good. So, like I said, the neighbors knew this kid was being abused. The kids in the neighborhood knew this kid was being abused. And here we are, you know, watching Leilani go to trial from eventually murdering this baby. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible.
Or got Daniel to call. So it's interesting. I mean, this was just the start.
See the spotlights that they put up on the fence? And at night, they're blinding. I mean, they're bright. So they had it lit up. So they had disco balls out there. They were twerking in the windows. You know, it turned into a circus, but they helped do that, right? It wasn't just the people out there. It was the actions of what was going on in that house. And like I said, Leilani twerking. And then let me tell you who a major player in some of this chaos was down there is the news people. A lot of people don't believe me when I say this. The Georgia news is trash. I mean, they're worse than YouTubers. They don't like each other. They be making up shit. They be trespassing. They be trying to jump the fence, take pictures. These people were pure T fucking grime balls. Okay. I've, over these years that I've been doing these missing kids, missing people cases, I've got to meet a lot of news people from all over the country. I've never seen news agencies act like Savannah, Georgia. Pure garbage ass people, right? I mean, instead of, what were they calling protesters? Hecklers, right? It was almost like they were on the side of a baby killer, right? And then right then I knew that these people were a joke. Anything else, it would have been considered, hey, these people out here protesting, this lady not going to jail. But this ain't a comedy show, right? To heckle somebody, they have to say something to you and you say something back, right? There was none of that going on, but they choose to call people hecklers when they're the ones jumping the fence, trespassing, blocking Leilani Simon in, screaming and cussing in the middle of the night, right? And a lot of this shit they didn't show on TV, of course. They didn't show their bad behavior, right? But when I stood on that vehicle, you see, they snapped a bunch of pictures of me to put it on the news. When I held that sign as a joke for my Facebook picture, they snapped pictures of that. So it just shows you, right? They'll put out what information they want. Even the locals, right? While they were trying to film down there, the locals were screaming fake news. If you don't believe me, ask any of the locals down there how garbage their news people are. I mean, pure T shit. Like, is this the best you can get? I mean, I don't know how big, Savannah ain't the biggest place in the world, but like I said, I've worked with news people here in my town, different news agencies and in Boston and different places, met all kind of news people. I've never seen nobody act like the news people in Savannah, Georgia.
Of Leilani's lies, but I know that you're going to get to that, so I won't give anything away. But yeah, it's the start.
Yeah, we've got a lot to get to. Well, let's listen to Billy Joe, who's Leilani Simon's mother, Quinton's grandma, and as Lauren said, the owner of the.
Now, this is going to be the same interview we played the other day. I haven't seen this part, but I know it's the same one where she says, sometimes I can trust my daughter, sometimes I can't. And that is the one that got me on an airplane. As soon as I heard that news clip, I said, okay, something's wrong. This girl did this. Let me head to Georgia.
The home.
Did she have her own?
Oh, no, it ain't.
Rooms within that residence that were.
Yes, sir, she did.
Who did she reside here with?
Danny Youngkin, my husband Thomas Howell, and my son Paul Simon, and the three children.
3 minor children.
All right, Joseph. So we're laying out who's in the house. So You're investigating this, and everyone who has access to the house or lives in the house obviously needs to be interviewed, and their story has to be verified, because that's the first place you.
And you want to hear something crazy? You know who Billy Joe was talking about today? You want to know who she was talking about? Chris Proudfoot. I found that so crazy. Okay, she's in a room where they're talking about the disappearance of Quinton Simon. Lady, you shouldn't be involved in talking about no missing kids. Okay, when you see a YouTube stream, Billy Joe Howe, all right, Billy Joe Bone, when you see a stream that's dealing with missing kids, your ass needs to skip over that. Okay, because you're not one that should be talking about missing kids whatsoever. Okay, because I know a little kid that would still be here if it wasn't for you. All right, so you need to skip over any conversation that has anything to do with not just little Sebastian, but any missing kid ever, as long as you're breathing. All right, if you're still on this planet, talk about anything other than missing kids. Okay, because you are not. Remember when you said you got the wrong one? Now I got the right one again. Okay, I got the right one again. Don't do it. All right, because when I read it, all I think to myself is, what the hell, lady? What the hell? You should almost be sitting beside your daughter. Now, I give you the benefit of the doubt that you didn't know she was going to unalive your grandkid. I give you that, right? But you made that situation possible. You made that situation possible. And she was defending CP. That, oh, he loves his family and he's a great guy. And I'm thinking to myself, holy shit. Okay. What, you know, when you read things like that and you know what this lady's been through and what she's done, and she got 2 kids that are she said she heard the pain in CP's voice from the Web Sleuth interview. Yeah, I never heard which voice, the Sling Blade voice or his, yeah, he ran away and we just want him home. And Katie, she ain't ready to do interviews, but you was up here on day 1, right? Country Girl Ann just gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much. Welcome aboard the Dolly Train. And if you got one of those memberships, make sure you thank Country Girl Ann. Give her a big virtual hug. Okay. Awesome, guys.
Have to look when a child is missing.
His drunk voice. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. But, you know, one of the initial statements.
Or when he's talking like Daffy Duck, which voice doesn't she feel sorry for? Okay.
Statements that came out relative to this person is that they stated that the child had been taken or snatched. You know, to think about that, just let that seep into the groundwater there and think about that a little bit. Why is it that your mind flies to that issue immediately? And if that's the case, and if you can come up with that supposition, the question is, who in the hell is coming and going out of that house on a daily basis, on an hourly basis?
You know, every morning that I got out there, I cleaned up the area around where the balloons were, because some of the balloons were popped and they would leave trash in the yard or some of the paper from some of the animals. So I'd get out there every morning and clean that front area up. And then once the balloons would go flat, I'd take them down and I'd put up new balloons. And then they got to a point to where, I guess, you know, she was conspiring with other YouTubers, right? And really the other YouTuber was dirtballing her and just taking the information and giving it to Betty, right? They were kind of working together. And so she goes out there and she puts horse shit in the front yard, right? Now you got to remember there's a memorial for this child that people are still going up putting toys to, and she fills the whole front of her yard up with horse shit and chopped up fish guts, horse shit. So she stunk the whole front of her house up to try to keep people away. Didn't do no good. Our teller just gifted $5 memberships. You know, like, you know, if your daughter, what you need to be filling with horse shit is that you should have been throwing it in Leilani's room, right? You want to throw fish guts on somebody or somebody smell that, you should have did that to Leilani. She is the one that murdered your grandkid. not all the people out there trying to give a voice and donating to, you know, the memorial for your grandson, right? So she had her whole head messed up, right? Like, why would you do that? She literally paid for a truckload of horse shit. That is just insane to me. Insane.
And why is that house unsecured? Those are the big questions that you're going to be asking, because
Billy Joe Howe did that. She got out there with a shovel, shoveling shit into the front yard. Yes, I'm not making it up. Ask anybody from Savannah, any of the locals, asked them. She put fish guts out there and she put horse shit out there, all in the, because there's the little area that had the rope where I was tying the balloons, right? So nobody went past the string, all right? The easement is what they call it, the damn easement. So she filled the easement with horse shit and fish guts, right? Because she didn't want people out in front of her house. If you didn't want people out in front of your house, you should have kept your daughter from murdering a baby. That probably would have kept the people away and smelled a lot better, okay? So as far as respect goes for what she was doing, and like, she changed up quick. You know, I can't trust my daughter to let me protect my daughter. So to me, that Billy Joe Howe, she failed those babies, right? She lied to the social services just so the kids could stay with Leilani. She should be in jail. Danny Youngkin, you's a piece of shit, bro. I'll be the one to tell you. If nobody else will say it, I will say it. You were there. There's no way this baby got beat to death and you didn't hear it. You lied on the 911 phone call. Your ass should be in prison for the rest of your damn life. And the hell with what your mama said. Okay. Your mama raised a monster. Okay. So did Leilani's. You did nothing. Even if you just stood by and watched it and didn't do nothing, you're still a piece of shit.
Because first off, who knows who the occupants are in that house? If they have an awareness that this little child, this precious little baby is in that house, who would have that information, that would know that that child is there, and that would be so motivated to snatch that child away from that family and run off with them? That's a big question here.
And the other thing, Lauren, that we heard in the 911 call was the door is open. But then the boyfriend says, yeah, but it's got bolts, but it's open. And very clear to say, well, Quinton can't open the door.
Because he's saying the door is unlocked. It has bolts. What do you mean by bolts in it? The deadbolt, right? He sounds like an idiot. He's lying. He can't even keep his lie straight on the damn 911 call. All right. So for everybody that defends Danny, that I have whatever. Okay. Because I look at the dude like he's just as responsible as Leilani is. He took part in it. He lied. His ass should be in jail. But without him, what do they got? They probably got nothing.
But the door is open. You live in an area like this and there's woods in a neighborhood. It seems you should be spending some time.
The woods are not very thick. Okay, Vinny. The woods are just maybe a half a block big behind the house. And then there's another street behind the house. Okay. Behind the house is where I almost stepped on a rattlesnake. I can tell you this, behind this house we're seeing is loaded with snakes. There's damn snakes everywhere. If he did have got out into the woods, he would have been bit by 10 different rattlesnakes. I stepped off the four-wheeler and the first thing I almost stepped on was a rattlesnake. Okay. Cause I rode all through them woods. I've been all behind that house, you know, because at the point we were still searching for Quinton. All right. I checked where the damn psychic Donna, whatever the hell her name is, that damn psychic that don't never get nothing right. And then people, every time I say, they're like, yeah, Dolly, she says everything right. And I'm like, okay, whatever. You can't argue with people that are convinced that somebody's psychic. Okay. Like, I don't buy that shit. If you show me a broke psychic, and I'm going to tell you now, you ain't psychic, because the first thing I'd get is the numbers to the damn lottery. But yeah, I'd even check where the psychics were saying. I'd check the damn railroad tracks, the woods. I mean, thoroughly chasing buzzards like the damn Hatfields and McCoys down there. And I found a lot of dead deer and animals, but nothing Quinton Simon, right? Because, you know, even though we knew he was rumored to be in the dumpster and they were searching the landfill, we didn't give up the search, right? Just in case, right? Just in case he was around that perimeter. You never know, just in case. So Even though they were searching the landfill, we were still searching the woods, searching the tracks, searching everything around that house. And thank you to the neighbor, the actual neighbor. There's a couple cool neighbors once you get away from their little block that were actually loaning me 4-wheelers, giving me information and things like that. So the locals did want this baby found. It's just some of them right around there, right? You know how they say it takes a village to raise a child. This village failed this child because the neighbor across the street's an old perverted. I mean, the dirtiest mouth old man, always out there saying something nasty to Betty. Like, dude, shut up, you old perv, right? You probably should have been in prison 30 years ago. From what I hear, he's still alive, too. Then you had the dude that was next door that was buddies with him, right? Done seen it all, didn't do anything. Across the street, you had a firefighter. He just didn't want to be bothered, all right? Not a bad guy. Just didn't want nothing to do with it. Don't want to be bothered. Ain't got nothing to do with me. Leave me alone. Don't park in front of my driveway. So, to me, you know, these neighbors out there, they failed they failed Quinton Simon horribly, okay? Completely failed this child. I have no respect for any of them.
I'm outside searching for the child, like frantically searching.
Yeah, the French fry guy lives to the right of the house. The picture you're seeing, right? That puss, right? Just a piece of crap, dude. He lives right next door to him in a little shitty ass, dirty trailer, right? It looked like somebody shitted out. I don't know. It's just like you got this nice neighborhood with all these nice houses, and then right next to this nice house you see, right, with a big yard, fence, nice, you got a shitty ass trailer. It looked like they pulled it out the dirtiest ass trailer park they could find and set it right beside their house, right? That's where the fry guy lives. And he didn't even own that, right? Because he called his landlord. He's like, I'm going to call my landlord. I'm like, dude, I will buy your trailer and kick you out, okay? Call whoever the hell you want. When you do, tell them I want to buy the trailer and I want you out. All right. That's what I told the dude. I was like, yeah, get your landlord out here. Cause when I buy that bitch and kick you out, like, how much can your trailer cost? $500. I mean, it was a shithole.
For the child.
I agree with you. And I thought that was a little odd that while Danny is making the phone call, she's just kind of in the background adding context, because that's.
And he still owes me a camera.
Also not something that you would normally do on a 911 call. Start saying, well, it could be this. Well, it could be that. You're going to want to say, what should I do? Should I go search? You know, what, like, everybody come quick. My son is missing. You don't really get that.
And he right off the bat tried to give, like, the kid has been kidnapped. Why would you think instantly your kid has been kidnapped? Wouldn't you think if the door's open that the kid has wandered off and you would be out running around looking for the kid, right? If I woke up and my front door was open and Lolo was gone, my dog, would I think somebody came in my house and kidnapped Lolo? Or would I think, oh man, I must not have shut the door all the way and Lolo's done got out? I would go out looking, okay? But they never left the yard, right? The lady said when she came down there, that the babysitter, that they were in the front yard looking around. In the front yard. They wasn't running up and down the streets looking behind the neighbor's fence or looking in the neighbor's yards. They were in the front yard. But unusual behavior, right? Unusual behavior. You're not acting normal. And why would you think that, oh, the kid's been kidnapped? So they're reporting this as a kidnapping. And there's no signs of a kidnapping. There's no forced entry. No, nothing. The door's bolted, but it's open. Which one? He's texted the damn babysitter at 6 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, but says he's seen the baby at 6. He is a lying piece of shit and should be sitting right next to Leilani.
You hear more excuses.
Absolutely. All right, Lauren, Justice Scott Morgan staying with us.
I hope little Quinton haunts his ass forever.
Coming up next, what will investigators be able to determine from Quinton's remains?
Additional testing, including a DNA analysis, is being conducted, and we have every reason to believe that this will confirm the remains are Quinton's.
how could live
This afternoon, Chatham County Police Department detectives arrested 22-year-old Leilani Simon and charged her with malice murder.
Okay, I do want to say this. I had no faith in Chief Hatley, but he actually did a really good job. Okay, he didn't give up. He got out there. His people got out there. They searched the hell out that landfill for almost 2 months until they found something. I had zero faith in Chief Hatley, but I learned a lot from Chief Hatley. And one of the things I learned is give the police a chance. Okay, give them a chance before you bash them and hate them and say they ain't doing their damn job. Okay, because the man did an excellent job. It took a while, but in the end, he did what needed to be done. Now, listen, I never really gave him a hard time while I was out there. I don't know. He gave me a hard time, right? When they locked my ass up, he made some jokes, but it was more Betty that kept going off on Chief Hatley. All right. And I kept telling Betty, don't do that. You know, we in this small Georgia town, you ain't never seen like prison movies where they plant drugs on people. And next thing you know, you in prison for 20 years. I don't mess with the police. Like, I don't talk bad about the police. You don't never hear me talking bad about Hendersonville police, right? You don't never hear that. I don't talk bad about the police because I'm scared of the police. They're the fucking worst gang ever. I don't trust any of them. Right. So I don't never talk bad about the police because I don't want them locking me up and planting something on me and me going to prison for 20 years. So the whole time I was out there, I'm begging Betty to stop talking bad about Chief Hatley. Can you please stop? Don't do that. It's not good. This could happen to us. We down here. We ain't from here, you know. And I would say something to Betty and she walked right back over to her camera and she would just be like, oh, he's a piece of shit. He's, you know, and I'm just thinking, oh my God, lady, could you stop? Right? Could you please stop what you're doing? You know, slow that shit down a little bit until I'm on an airplane out of here. And then you can say whatever the hell you want to say about the police. Okay. You can say whatever you want to say, but let me be on an airplane out of Georgia before you start doing that shit. Okay. It's instantly, she's always attack the police, attack the police, attack the police, attack the police. Listen, the police didn't kill the baby. Okay. The police didn't kill the baby. Stop. You know what I'm saying? Stop it, woman. And it's just, once she gets something in her mind, it ain't nothing you can do to stop that shit. Okay. You're like, oh my God, like I'm slowly inching farther down the block from her. You know what I'm saying? If you notice where you're set, she's over here, I'm over here. I'm slowly, before it's all said and done, I'm a block and a half away. You know what I'm saying? Trying to distance myself. And it's just because she was attacking the police. Right. And it didn't help none when they came and I did something wrong. They are already looking for a reason to get you. You know what I'm saying? So I just, you know, you can't just attack the police. And like I said, I learned a lot from that. Give the police a chance because, believe it or not, Chief Hatley did an amazing job. Right. He probably should have, you know, not worried about so much about what the protesters were out there. He was more, you know, pissed off about people protesting it because it made him look bad. But he did do an amazing job, and I give him that. Okay. And I'm out of all my legal trouble down there. And I don't have no reason to lie. I do. I think he did a good job. I'm glad he stayed the course because there's many times they could have gave up searching that landfill and we may not have never had these answers.
Concealing the death of another person, false reporting and making false statements in connection with the disappearance and death of her son, 20-month-old Quinton Simon. Leilani Simon is being held at the Chatham County Detention Center and is awaiting a bond hearing. We do not anticipate any other arrests in this case. She has been the sole suspect from the beginning. On Friday, our search teams at the waste management landfill found what they believed were human remains. This afternoon, the FBI lab in Quantico, Virginia confirmed that they are, in fact, human remains. Additional testing, including a DNA analysis, is being conducted, and we have every reason to believe that this will confirm the remains are Quinton's.
He was thrown out like garbage. This little boy that you're looking at was killed and thrown out like garbage.
Here's the thing. How do we even know he was killed and wasn't thrown in the garbage alive? But what they do say, whatever it was she threw in the garbage was wrapped up in a blanket. Okay. So at some point he was wrapped up. So you would have to go with he's no longer with us. But, there's still the possibility she wrapped him up in a blanket, threw him in the trash. We haven't heard what she's going to say. We don't, if she says he drowned in the pool, he drowned in the bathtub, he fell down the stairs. At this point, she could come up with anything. There's no murder weapon. There's no witness to the murder unless Danny witnessed the murder. And then how bad does it look? Because then he said he seen him at 6. He said he was kidnapped. The door was open. Then you see all the lies he told, right? It can't be both.
They had to go to a landfill to recover his remains. Unreal. Which brings me to my next question, which is about what happened to the little guy. What will investigators be able to determine from Quinton's remains?
All right, and this is what I've been discussing for the last few days, right? Because, I'm scared that there'd be a Casey Anthony kind of thing. Now, if I'm your defense attorney, it is my job to keep your ass out of prison. I'm going to say, hey, this baby drowned. You got a pool. You were giving him a bath. You left to go do some drugs. This baby drowned. You freaked out. You disposed of the body. Okay. Then you get the disposing of a corpse. You get those charges, which don't carry that much time. Disposing of a corpse carries 10 years. But if you beat the murder charges, you will walk free one day. If you don't beat these murder charges, you're going to sit your life in prison. And this goes back to the Menendez brothers that murdered their parents. I watched a documentary today on them. And in the first case, the first time they went to trial, it was a hung jury. Half the people said they wanted to convict them of manslaughter, and the other half first-degree murder. Then the second trial, they threw out all the witnesses that were for the Menendez brothers, family members, expert witnesses and stuff like that. And they were convicted by 12 juries of first-degree murder, life without parole. So, the second time they changed it up.
It's so sad. It is so sad. But the investigation must continue. You got to figure this stuff out. Still with us, Joseph Scott Morgan and Lauren Conlon. Lauren, the one thing about this search that I think people have to realize, this was like a massive search that was done, an incredible effort by everyone involved.
Yes, Vinny, it was a huge search. Tons of money was put into this, over $250,000 by the county. The FBI was involved. They had local police, a canine team, helicopters. Everybody in the area was searching for Quinton Simon.
Joseph Scott Morgan, I want to read something from the state's filing just to give a little perspective on what happened to Quinton. And then you can help us answer the question about what investigators are going to be able to figure out from this part of the evidence. But hours after the defendant had discarded Quinton's body in the dumpster, the hydraulic forks of a front-loading garbage truck lifted up the dumpster and dumped its contents, including Quinton, into the large box that constitutes the back of the truck. Then a powerful compactor built into the truck compacted the contents of the box. Eventually, the truck gorged its load at the trash basin of a local landfill. A bull.
Hey, I'm muted. Hey, I'm back home. For the person that left that comment, there was, they issued a state of emergency. Hurricane Milton was coming through. So I figured I would come back to Virginia, right? If it's not canceled, tomorrow is jury selection. It'll go on till Monday. So the trial starts the 14th. Okay. So maybe I'll go back down there for the trial, but there's no need for me to be there for jury selection. Plus, you know, the dangers of that storm. We don't know exactly what it's going to do and how powerful it's going to be. So it was best for me to come back home until at least this trial starts. And then most likely I'll just fly back down there.
Bulldozer then shoved the heaped garbage 300 feet from the trash basin to a cell. Once at the cell, the garbage and Quinton were compacted by a roughly 50-ton machine that looks something like a steamroller, but with rollers that are studded rather than smooth. Then there was the search. The process consisted of excavators scooping garbage out of the cell and loading it into dump trucks. The dump trucks unloading the garbage at an open area known as a search deck. The garbage then being spread out into an even layer on the search deck. Law enforcement combing through the garbage, then clearing it to make room for the next load. This was repeated day after day, load after load, ton after ton.
Until they found it.
Is what they're saying here, went through a lot.
Now, here's the thing, guys, too. Trigger warning, all right, for any sensitive people out there. They didn't find his whole body. They found pieces of bone, okay, just pieces. It was small enough that you could put the pieces in a shoebox is what they sent to Quantico, all right? So they asked the sheriff, well, what did I say his name? Chief Hadley. Right, they asked Chief Hadley where the search is going to continue, and at that point he said he didn't know. And then shortly after that, the searching stopped. So they didn't even find his whole body. They just found pieces of his body that had been compacted, ran over by bulldozers, and all those things. Okay, so it's going to be hard to determine how he died.
But they did it, Joseph Scott Morgan. They found whatever was left of these remains. What are they going to be able to determine from these remains?
Well, I got to tell you, Ben, tip of the cap, first off, to law enforcement and these people that were boots on the ground. You realize how unsuccessful most of these searches generally are. I know you realize that. We've covered it for years. And I've been a part of searches like this. And it is an absolute nightmare to work in this environment. And, you know, they talked about the truck or the piece of equipment that compounds everything that's contained in there. These landfills are split up into, they call it cells. You can call it grids as well, because you can't dump in the same area all the time. You have to keep it evenly spaced. And the upside is, you know, where that particular dumpster originated from that day. So it would be isolated in that specific topographic area for that site. One of the things you have working against you is nature. Remember, a landfill is there to break down all organic material. And I'm not being disrespectful here, but the human body is chief among these. And so decomposition is promoted. One interesting piece to this, Finn, is that they talk specifically about finding skeletal remains, which means that within weeks, his little precious body would have broken down very quickly, probably a lot quicker than, say, for instance, if this was a body that was placed out in the woods somewhere. You get it into this environment and it's greatly compromised. So if you're looking for, say, injuries to the tissue, like a bruise or even a gunshot wound or a knife wound, you're not going to find it most of the time, because all of the soft tissue will be gone. So then you're reliant upon the skeletal remains, which they removed to Quantico. And that's kind of an interesting bit there. For me, it was, at least. They first went to Quantico, and then they came back to the state of Georgia to the state medical examiner's office. They quickly, early on, determined that these were a child's skeletal remains, which are completely different than an adult. They're not matured. And so they're very easily compromised. The bones are very soft. So that's why this is, I'm not trying to be grotesque. I'm just saying this is a miracle that they even found him. And so that's why this is such an achievement on the part of law enforcement, and they couldn't deserve more credit.
And as you get those remains and you examine them, what are you looking for? What can you get from the skeletal remains of this small young child?
Yeah, one of the key things is they're being very cagey about this. Did you notice in the report, it was very nonspecific relative to, well, the weapon or the instrument that was used. They talked about, and I'm going to get the phrase, maybe you can correct me here, but it was an instrument that was used and it was nonspecific. Well, an instrument or an object rather can be any number of things. It can be a hammer, a baseball bat. It can be a knife. You know, those are all objects or instruments.
It could be a belt. You know, it could have been something a tourniquet she wrapped around his neck. It could be a lot of things. But here's the thing is you got to be able to prove it. If he has no skin tissue, not trying to be gross, right? There's no way to determine if there's bruising or he was beat to death. If they don't have the whole skull, there's no way to tell what fractured his skull. Did his skull get fractured from her beating him in the head, or did it get fractured from a bulldozer running him over? Right? So it's hard to determine what took this kid's life. And if you're not specifying what the murder weapon is, it sounds to me like you don't have a murder weapon. And in the beginning, they had no evidence. They didn't have enough evidence to arrest her, right, for the disappearance of her child. That's why they were searching the landfill. Then they didn't have nothing in the beginning. Where did they magically get this murder weapon that they don't have? And if you have a weapon, say you just took a broomstick and took it into the court, the body is too gone to tell if it was beat to death with a broomstick. If it was, you know what I'm saying? This hypothetically, there's no way to tell. The baby's been basically compacted and ran over with a bulldozer, and his bones are crushed into pieces. He's not a fully intact skeleton, not at all. And he ain't even all there. So that's hard to determine.
Generally when you hear object though, that implies blunt force trauma. So I have to ask myself this: if you're making that determination, and again, we don't have this in its final context, do you have some bit of the skull that remained where you could appreciate maybe some kind of fracture or something that had occurred?
But then, Joseph, Mr. Body Bags, we go into, was the fracture created when he was alive, or was the fracture done after he was deceased by getting compacted or crushed? If you think they put you in a trash truck, you're going to be crushed up because it squeezes all the trash together. He's a baby. His skull is pretty soft. His bones are pretty soft, brittle. So, you know, then not to mention that he was ran over with a bulldozer. So how do you determine what injury was caused by what? There's really no way whatsoever. So, and you got to convince a jury.
Occurred, because if you're talking about a knife wound, much more difficult to assess that on skeletal remains.
Joseph Scott Morgan, thank you so much.
But then again, if he would have stabbed him, there would have been blood everywhere. So I don't believe this was a stabbing, but yes, he's right, because you could see cut marks in the bone, and there is no reason that the kid's bone should have cut marks in it because he's 20 months old. You know what I'm saying? And they wasn't stabbing him at the landfill. They were crushing him. So if he has cut wounds, yeah, you may be able to determine, but then they would say she stabbed him to death, but they're insinuating blunt force trauma, and there's no way to prove blunt force trauma. So to me, it's a hard, unless, you know, Danny gets up in there and says she watched him beat him in the head with a stick or something, but it don't sound like he told any of that, because he didn't leave till 4 days later. After he was interviewed, he still went back to the house with Leilani for 4 days. He left 4 days later. So what could he have told the police in those 4 days? I don't know. Right? So, I mean, I don't know. We don't know what Danny's going to say. We don't know what Leilani is going to say. The baby fell down the stairs. He drowned in the bathtub. He drowned in the pool. She woke up. He was deceased, and she disposed of his body. We don't know.
Really appreciate your insight, and you do it so well and so delicately. Lauren Conlon, thank you as well. I'm Vinny Politan. We'll keep digging for answers as the investigation continues.
Okay, this goes on for a little bit, but I'm going to go ahead and open up the phone lines. I want to hear from you guys tonight. What happened to baby Q, right? How are they going to prove how this baby died? Is it just going to be like, well, Danny said she beat him to death, and that's all the proof that they had that this baby's been beat to death? All right. Calling numbers on the screen, 757-797-6694. Dolly.
Golly, it's Richard. What's up, man?
What's up, Richard?
Hey, you're wrong, brother.
About?
CSI can tell if an object was used on how I think it's like 12 and under or 10 and under, I think, of if a bone was fractured and if it was done before death or after death. You can look it up. CSI will be able to prove that.
No, if you broke a bone and allowed it to heal, no. If you break a bone that causes death, it's never going to heal. You see what I'm saying? If you
but that's what I'm saying.
like say you broke the baby's arm and then it started to heal and then you killed the baby, they would be able to show, well, this bone has been broken, healed, but they can't determine when that bone was broke if the baby is
something
dead.
About how you'd have to Google it, but something about how CSI can determine if a bone was either fractured, broken, cracked, dented before death or after death. There's a difference in how the bone. So, like, he wouldn't have drowned in the pool. She can't use that if it had blunt force trauma. There's no way.
Yeah, but how do you prove blunt force trauma if you got partial remains that have been ran over with a bulldozer?
That they have. That's what they're saying is it was an object, a blunt force trauma object. So they know something, or they wouldn't be saying that.
I mean, I think they're going out on a limb. Maybe they're going with what Danny said.
I think they have a weapon.
But if they would have had this weapon, why did it take them so long to arrest her?
Well, maybe she didn't rat. Maybe when Danny ran, maybe it's because she confessed to him that night, and he said, "Oh shit, I'm out."
Well, he didn't run instantly. He didn't run instantly. He left 4 days
4 days later. Maybe she was getting high and spilled the beans when she was high, and 4 days later, and he got the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah, but he called the babysitter at 5 o'clock in the morning and said he seen the baby at 6, and she was already at the dump site dumping the baby in the dumpster. So he's lying. He's definitely lying.
Oh, well then, yeah, he knows more. He probably cracked. They probably cracked him. He probably broke.
I think he's covering for himself. He definitely knew this baby was murdered.
He threw her under the bus. But I guarantee he's going to have thrown her under the bus.
Well, yeah, he's definitely a witness against her.
Oh yeah, he threw her under the bus.
But he should technically. Yeah, but when he goes against her, she's already told me that, even when I was out there, she told me to my face he was beating on the baby. So
she's going to use that to try to get herself off.
Yes, exactly.
But
I know.
It's going to work because they're going to have his testimony. Maybe he tried to do what a lot of people do in cases like that. Maybe say, "Hey, go ahead and."
Yeah, but you're talking about a dude that was on drugs and like.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Too?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know.
Strung out on drugs. So I mean, you got somebody you got two bad people pointing the finger at each other. That's what I'm scared of.
If he dumped the body, she most likely committed the crime.
Yes, I would agree with that. If she dumped the body, she did the crime.
Why? And he might be charged after she's charged. That happens a lot. Like they'll wait and use him as a witness, and then they'll get him.
Well, I'm sure if he's going in there and talking, he's done signed something for immunity.
He did, but if you lie under oath during the immunity, like if they can prove that he told one fib.
Oh yeah, that's what Kayla Montgomery went to jail for. She was in there for lying to the grand jury. She wasn't even in there for killing Harmony Montgomery.
So they can still go after. That's what I think they're going to use against Jen Soto. I believe Vinny's right. I think they're going to use that statement she made and the lie to the detective, and then texting him 2 minutes later.
Yeah, but that shit don't carry any time. No major big time. Like Kayla Montgomery, she's out of jail right now.
Yeah, and he might not get long, but even if he gets 3 years for his part of it, that's better than not getting any.
Oh yeah, I agree.
That's 3 years of hell, bro.
Yeah, I believe he conspired and helped her do this.
You don't want to get into the kind of like that Ahmaud Arbery case. Remember when those two the fireman and the retired cop dad, they killed that man in the neighborhood, and then it was in Georgia, and that's what they did to them. They hammered them for like 400 years in prison.
Yeah,
malice, murder, and all that. Yeah.
Well, they got Leilani charged with all kinds of shit. They got a charge of first-degree murder with malice.
I don't think she'll get out. I think they have something, or they wouldn't be doing this.
I hope
Georgia doesn't waste money like that. They got something on her.
Well,
we'll see. Though we'll
they
know
got
pretty
they don't
soon,
waste.
right?
They got plenty of my money. I know that. I know they got
The
plenty
next
of my
time,
money.
whenever we meet up for a dinner, if you win and she doesn't, I'll pay for you and PJ's dinner. If
Okay.
I win, then y'all got to buy my dinner.
Well, I mean, I think they're going to convict her. I know she did it, but I'm just thinking.
I don't think she's gonna ever get out.
I just
It's
think
Georgia
that
you're talking about.
I don't know, man. I don't know, but people locals have been telling me that Georgia's been throwing out life sentences like it's
Dude, they are
Oprah.
gonna
You get a life
get
sentence. You get a life
her.
sentence. Everybody get a life
Dude.
sentence.
Look what they did to that guy in the Mount Aubrey case. The one that turned in the video to show him the proof that those two men killed. They put him in jail for 60 years, and all he did was film the video, following him around the neighborhood while they killed that kid. He didn't participate in any of the murder.
Is that the one that was
retired
running and
sheriff.
he tackled him in the street? I'm trying to remember the case.
Yes, but the guy that filmed it and then turned the video over to the police because he couldn't live with himself, they gave him 60 years. And he didn't do anything. He didn't even get out of his truck.
Well, that's what
He
I'm
was a
saying.
witness.
You see something, you say something. You got to do something about it. You
and
can't
he
watch this
did.
shit be
He
going.
stepped up. He turned in the video, or they wouldn't have had no proof.
Yeah.
And they still gave that man 60 years. Georgia don't play, dude.
All right, we're gonna see. It's coming up. I hope. I do hope they throw the book at her.
They're worse than Texas. Oh, it's more in the book, buddy. They threw a book and a brick.
A book and a brick. A book with a brick in it would be good.
She will never get out of jail. I'm telling you.
Yeah, but
and I think he'll be charged after her.
Well, he's definitely a liar. I don't know about if he did it.
They're gonna get him.
I just know he's
It's
a
baby
liar.
you're talking about. They'll get him. It's a baby. They'll get him.
All right, Richard, you be good, my
All
brother.
right, brother. Well, glad you're home safe, man. Be careful.
I will be. Peace.
I do. Peace.
Yeah, when I seen how big that storm was and how, it's probably going to wipe Florida out, I was like, I don't know. That thing veers a little bit, could hit Georgia's, no need to be in danger. And like I said, I was down there pretty early anyway, because tomorrow is just jury selection if it goes down, because Georgia has declared a state of emergency. They may cancel courts. I'm not sure, because, there's been a bunch of flooding down there anyway. So it don't take much flooding when something's already been flooded to reflood. So I don't know exactly when everything's going to kick off. But I do know the trial is set to begin on the 14th. Dolly.
Hey, Dolly, I got through.
You did it, man. What's good?
You're going to have to turn me down in the background.
Okay, I'll definitely do that. All right, I'll turn you down.
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right. So how are they going to determine how this baby died there, Mab?
Well, I think Richards is right. The CSI, they can tell
How?
if the bone was broken pre-mortem, pre-death, or post-mortem.
Yeah, if it had time to heal, but if it was broke when you died.
No, not based on the healing process. Well, probably partially based on the healing process as it takes place immediately after a break, but they can tell if the break happened by a bulldozer or if it happened as the cause of death.
I don't know. That's
based on, you're going to find out it's going to be based on like cellular shit and
a whole bunch of made up shit. Because they don't have none. I mean, I don't care if they go in there and lie, as long as she's convicted. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. I don't care if the police lie, but I'm just saying I don't believe they got shit. So if they got to make up shit to convict her, I mean, that's on them. She did it.
I think they got a lot more than we think. I think they got the murder weapon.
I don't know. I really
And
don't
something
believe
about,
that.
I've been hearing they got some brain matter or some shit.
I don't know about that. That's
Pillowcase or something.
That's just
a rumor.
Rumor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I haven't heard nothing solid in front of that they took in front of the grand jury that says anything like that.
So you think if Chief Hadley had not announced that Leilani was the chief suspect before they found baby Q's body?
Oh, he effed up there.
Protest. He fucked up big time there.
Didn't he?
That was his biggest mistake. Other than
Yeah,
that,
I bet you he learned from that though, not to never do that again.
Yeah, you can't say, we don't have a phone, but she's our main suspect. And
Yeah, because I
hell
mean,
broke loose.
I know he did a good job in finding the baby, but he also did a job in creating that circus.
Yeah, he caused that circus for sure.
Yeah, I agree that, if he hadn't have said that, all them people wouldn't have been out in front of the house pointing their fingers at Leilani.
VHB wouldn't have been out there raising hell, going to 1,000. So you think Danny helped?
I think he knew for sure. I don't know if he
I think
actually
he
took
knew.
part in the murder, but I do know he took part.
And he said he saw the baby at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, because he's a liar. And they text at like 5:40 something saying that they didn't need the babysitter. So I just think he's lying.
Yeah, he was dead before the text.
And he only went to work to build him an alibi, because then he came
And
right
the only
back before the
reason they
police were
didn't
even
need-
called.
The only reason they didn't need the babysitter is because there was no kid.
Yeah, exactly. And he got
And
him
he
an
was-
alibi because he went into work and then he came back and he's the one that called the police, said the door was open. Then he said the door was bolted. He couldn't even keep his lie straight in the 911 call.
I wonder what the cops, wonder what they got out of him, or wonder if they'd struck a deal with him. That's going to be the interesting part.
Yeah. Yeah. What he says and what
Oh.
Leilani says is going to be that's the golden ticket there.
So what are you most afraid of here?
That she comes in and says that the baby drowned or the baby fell down the stairs, and that they do away with the murder charges and they charge her with disposing of a corpse and lying to the police. That's my biggest fear.
I'm afraid that is a big possibility unless they have something good.
If she has a halfway decent lawyer, the lawyer's going to come up with some type of
Yeah.
defense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That you didn't do it. Nobody's going to walk in there and say they did it.
Plus, the jury's going to look at how young she is, she's
Uh-huh.
cute. That's going to play a role. It always does.
Yeah,
It's like
I think
the
so
Karen
too.
Reed case. If Karen Reed was a sumo wrestler, there would be.
Oh yeah, I know. Or she was broke.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Leilani broke. Too.
Yeah.
She ain't got
But there may
Karen
be
Reed
some
money.
lawyer out there that wants to make a name for himself.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those cases because I don't think, far as I know she done it, but as far as evidence, there's nothing super solid that we know of so far. You see what I'm saying?
She needs a Johnny Cochran.
Good luck with that. She needs the next Johnny Cochran, maybe.
If his glove don't fit, he must have quit.
She needs what is it? What one of them Jennings girls is going to be a lawyer? Kayla Jenner?
Jenner?
Yeah. The Kardashians.
Oh.
Ain't Chloe one of them? Ain't one of them trying to become a lawyer? Her dad was one of OJ's lawyers.
I think I put in the chat the other day that Leilani is probably going to become a lawyer in prison.
I mean, she already got a GED. She already got a, she at least she went to school while she was in there.
They'll send her to college.
Okay, yes, Kim Kardashian. That's the lawyer.
She's going to have a better life in prison than she had out.
What? I don't know. How the hell can you have a better life in prison than out?
You got all the food you want to eat. You got
not good food
internet.
though. You're not good food.
Well, there ain't no good
and you ain't
food
got the
out
good
here.
internet. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got high speed. You just got cable.
You got YouTube.
Yeah. Ain't too much YouTubing going on while you was up in the joint, in the booty joint.
Yeah.
She'll have her a nice girlfriend in cornrows by the time it's all said and done, though.
Yeah, I bet she does.
So.
All right, Dolly.
All right, Mab. You be good.
You too, buddy.
Peace. Now, here's the thing. Like, let's just say you were abused, all right, and you had a broke arm, and your arm was able to heal, and then somebody killed you, and they found your arm. They would say, yeah, this happened because you can see it's been the term break from if it killed by bulldozer. Dolly.
Hey, Dolly. It's
Hey.
Zircon.
Hey, Zircon, how you been?
I've been real good. I'm glad to see you're doing good.
Thank you.
I had a couple things to say about Leilani.
Okay.
The first thing is, did you hear the story about when Billy Joe lost custody and her mom had custody of Leilani and her murderous brother?
Yeah. And
Well,
Billy
next-
Joe said she got her stuff straight, so she thought Leilani would do the same thing.
Well, no, the story I heard right when this all broke, it's just kind of freaky deaky. The house next door, they had murdered their children. They were older children and buried them in the backyard.
In cages? Is it something like that?
No, they buried them in the backyard. And during the time that the grandma had custody, that neighbor, that whole thing broke that this happened. And I always thought that perhaps that was really scarring for the kids living right next door. Just something so weird.
I don't know. Well, there's two of them are killers, Leilani and her brother.
I'm saying it's just so odd. And the other thing, and I know you guys talked about it the other night, I thought that the police had checked the house and put up those plastic things on the windows.
Yeah, spray luminol.
Luminol, yeah. So maybe they did find some evidence in the house.
Yeah, maybe. But, you know, to say you have a murder weapon, and if they would have found evidence, why didn't they arrest her with the evidence? Why'd they wait till they found the baby, then arrest her?
Well, I can't answer that, Dolly.
Yeah, see, to me, that don't make sense. If they had evidence, that seems like they would arrest her as soon as they had evidence, but they didn't.
Well, I think it's really strange that they didn't arrest her after they knew she had dropped the baby in the dumpster.
Yeah, they didn't.
And they had that on tape, right?
Allegedly, it's on tape. But yeah, that's what I was told.
So why didn't they arrest her then?
Because
so
you couldn't determine what was in the she threw away blankets. And Quinton was wrapped up in the blankets. Is what it was said. They believed it was him in the blankets, but they couldn't determine it was him because he was seen throwing away blankets. So that made them think, okay, the baby's in the landfill. Let's go search the landfill. And then they found Quinton.
That I didn't think about that. It's not like they actually saw a baby go in the dumpster.
Yeah, it ain't like she was holding her by the foot and slung him in the dumpster. You know what I'm saying? And they seen that. They just seen her throwing away blankets, and they assumed that Quinton was wrapped up in them blankets.
I didn't think about that.
And if you beat somebody to death, just say she punched him in the head and he had a seizure or something and died. That don't, just because they beat him to death don't mean there was blood everywhere. There's people that get struck. Matter of fact, my buddies, y'all might have seen this on the news. This was on the news. This dude I know was in a bar and they were watching the Dallas Cowboy football game and the Redskin game, and two dudes got in an altercation, and the guy that I know swung on the guy, and when he did, he missed, but he Russian sickled the guy to the ground. And when he did, he ruptured a vessel inside of his neck. So it was internal bleeding. The guy laid there and bled to death. And they charged him with manslaughter because the other dude started the fight, but he was on parole for 4 years. So they gave him 14 years for the murder, which was manslaughter. But he missed the punch. It's on video. You can find it. And his name's Ronnie. And he missed the punch, but he's such a big guy that when he Russian sickled the guy, it severed his artery in his neck.
I think I remember you telling that story.
And there was no blood, zero. I mean, and he was basically beat to death. Yeah, I mean, just because you hit somebody, you can punch somebody in the head, don't mean they're going to bleed, but it could also kill them. Swelling of the brain.
True.
And there'd never be no blood. You know, or if she suffocated them, if she strangled them, or if she drowned them in the bath. I mean, there's a million ways to die where it don't leave any of that.
That's right. That's right.
You know?
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I hope they televise it.
Yeah, I do too. I think the world needs to see it. I think that women need to see the punishment for crimes like this. So maybe it will scare them into committing some of these crimes.
And I think you're right that Danny there's some Danny involvement there. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I agree on that one. That you heard him lying that he seen the baby, which there was no way he could seen it. He said the door was open, but then he said the door was bolted. He instantly said it was a kidnapping without going out and searching. So, but there's no signs of forced entry. Like what he was saying didn't make sense. A lot of people think Leilani texted the babysitter. I believe he texted the babysitter. I believe he helped hatch this plan to throw the baby in the dumpster. He built him an alibi because he went to work and came right back. Why even go to work if you're not going to stay there, right?
Yeah.
It's to build an alibi. I believe he's just as responsible as her. You watch this baby get beat to death and you did nothing to stop it. Not only did you not stop it, but then you lied to the police.
Do you think she'll go on the stand?
I wouldn't. If I was her, I wouldn't get up there.
No.
You know, I don't think it would help her at all. You know, I think her lawyer just needs to paint a picture of this baby died some other way. I mean, that's her defense. I mean, a good defense attorney would do that. I'm not trying to give them no, plans or anything, but trust me, whatever defense attorney she got, I believe that person's already thought of that. The whole Casey Anthony thing. They can't determine how the baby died. You can say this baby drowned. You can say this baby fell down the stairs. You covered it up. You will get 10 to 15 years, but you'll get out of prison. If she gets convicted of murder, she's never getting out. So all she has to do is deny the murder, say that the baby died, that she covered it up because she was scared. She didn't know what to do. She panicked, and go from there.
Because you don't get much for concealing a corpse and lying.
10 years. It comes up 10 years. You can get up to 10 years for concealing of a corpse.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And she's already done what? 2? Been 2 years already.
Yeah, 2 years. She's been sitting there 2 years. That's for sure. This Halloween coming up in about 30 days. It'll be 2 years.
Ooh, you got to play the ghost.
So she got
video.
arrested right before Thanksgiving. No, like a couple days before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you have when it gets close to Halloween, you'll have to play the video.
Oh the ghost video. Yeah, that's even makes it even more weird. That we're out there. This baby's been murdered, and the ghost is out there.
It's real.
I know it's real. I that I believe it too. I didn't believe in ghosts till I seen that video. I was like, okay, that shit is real.
That was freaky. Well, I won't keep you.
All right, Zircon.
And I'm so glad you're back.
All right, you be good. Now, I don't know if y'all have seen the ghost video of little Quinton Simon running up behind me. It is the realest, craziest ghost video there ever is, right? I have, there's nothing else like it out there. Like far as ghost video. Pitbull Mama, thank you so much for becoming a member. Jax, hey everyone, I'm listening because I'm on shift. Wanted to say, hey, Turtle Fam, Dolly gotta eat. Dolly gotta eat. Okay. Dolly also got to chill, get some rest, finish watching my show, Blacklist. So I'm not going to be here too much longer with you guys. I appreciate everybody that has stopped by to hang out with me tonight and talk about the Leilani Simon case. I will be with you guys tomorrow when I get up. We'll see if they cancel court, if they start picking the jury, but trial won't start to the 14th. We don't know if they're going to broadcast it or they're not going to broadcast it. I still got to make new plans now if I'm going back down there for the trial, because, the storm kind of derailed me. I was almost there, right? I was in 3 hours from Savannah. And I was like, okay, let me stop. Let me see what this storm is doing. And, there was just so many people worried about my safety. So many people just blowing me up. PJ, my sister, just everybody calling like, Dolly, you should just probably go home. It ain't that important, but to me, it's important, right? Because, I've been there from the beginning of this, and I would like to see her go to prison in person. You know, like I really don't need to sit through the whole trial, but I do want to see this woman go to prison. If I got to fly into Georgia and fly out just to watch her, you know, get convicted. Small town girl, Florida peeps, stay safe. We got this. Flex on them. Definitely. Listen, if you're in Florida, take the advice and evacuate. Okay. I know some people, you know, are down there filming and they're putting their lives in jeopardy. You know, I'm glad they're braver than me. I can say that, right? But for everybody else, take the advice of the governors and the get out of Florida if you can. I hear there's gas shortages going down I-75. I don't know the interstate too well, but I hear there's going to be gas shortages. So make sure you gas up. If you got gas cans, take extra gas cans with you just in case you find yourself in a situation where you can't get gas. That was one of my worries. Like, okay, I'm going to get down here. Power's going to go out. There's going to be nowhere to get no gas. Something bad could happen. But I'm back home. The hurricane ain't coming here. Okay. So if it does hit Florida and Georgia, I'm good. It looks like mostly it's going to hit Florida, but Georgia's expecting tropical storms and they have already been flooded out. So any rain is a lot of rain when the ground is already saturated and still wet. It don't take as much to reflood everything. Prayers to everybody in Florida. If you are, you know, batten down the hatches, board up the windows, don't, you know, get to your basements, get wherever you can. Grab a hold of your plumb, tie yourself to the plumbing. I don't care what you do, but stay safe if you can't get out of Florida. All right. Cause they're asking, I believe, most of Florida to evacuate the whole state, which is insane. Okay. I mean, where do all these people go? What if you ain't got money? What if you ain't got money for, you know, a lot of people live check to check. They don't live storm to storm. So be careful, be safe. We don't want to lose any of the turtle gang. All right. Definitely, you guys, definitely be safe out there and say a little prayer for everybody. You know, the storm is supposed to hit sometime, what is it, tomorrow? Make landfall tomorrow? It was bad enough that I turned around and drove 5 hours back. Okay. And I did that. I didn't do that today. I did that last night. So I drove down there. I drove what, five and a half. I got hit traffic. So it took me almost 6 hours to get to South Carolina, right? To the border, south of the border. I sat there. I wanted to shot that video with you guys. We went and seen the alligators, the snakes, and the damn turtles. And right after that, I went back to the camper. I sat there for about an hour. It was like, you know, everybody's calling me, blowing me up. You know, it ain't safe. You probably should have waited. And then I was just like, F it. And I drove straight back. Okay. It took me 4.5 hours to get back. It took me almost 6 hours to get there because it was daytime traffic, stuff like that. But at night, it only took me 4.5 hours to get back. But I was hauling ass on the way back. But I made it home last night. I was tired as hell when I got here. Right. But I made it. I made it safely. I'm home now. So we'll see how this storm plays out. And then we'll regroup and then we'll go from there. So in the comment box down below, I want to know what do you think Leilani is going to say how baby Q died? Okay. Right now, she hasn't said anything. What do you think she's going to use in court? The baby drowned. The baby fell down the stairs. I beat the baby to death. You know, what excuse, and that's basically probably what it is she going to make to say how this baby died? Don't tell me in the side chat because I won't see it. But when this video ends in just a minute, make sure you like it and make sure you leave a comment to let me know what excuse she's going to use in court how this baby died. And I'll read them and comment you back first thing in the morning when I get up. And I'm going to be here covering what happened in Georgia today, a little bit of the storm. And I'm also want to go over some of the stuff in the Maddie Soto case. All right. There's some things kind of surfacing in the Maddie Soto stuff that I want to talk about. So I'll see you guys in the morning. Be good, be safe. And just remember, if nobody does, Dolly loves you. See you later, guys. Peace.